Hey everybody, welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Nick Kinsel.
And I'm Tom Hoblin.
And guys, we are getting right into it. We had a great week last week. We had the most views that we've ever gotten on a video, over 3,500 views. And I really do think it's just because we brought Tom onto the show.
Oh, no. I think the Australians and the New Zealanders were just interested in taking anything NASCAR. So if you're here with us again for this next week, welcome back. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining in for that show. Thank you to all of our new subscribers. But we're going to start off our show like we do every week with our diecast of the week. Tom, what you got for us, buddy?
All right, the 24 one this week. So I found this at a flea market in Oklahoma City when I lived down there. But it's a 20th anniversary Hendrick, so it's the silver edition that ran, I think, Charlotte that season in 2004. But pull out the old Jeff Gordon silver edition 20th anniversary Hendrick diecast.
Yep, that's a beauty right there, buddy. Any Jeff Gordon diecast is welcome on here, especially if Mike comes on, because that was his guy growing up.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick, what you got for your diecast of the week?
So I'm kind of surprised I didn't play this one a month ago. But last month was sadly the 10-year anniversary of old T-Bane's last win in NASCAR, and it came at the Iowa Speedway of June of 2013. So Iowa bust out Trevor Baynes. This is the Iowa race win diecast. This is the second diecast that I ever bought, and this is the first diecast that I ever bought, and then that just kind of started my little diecast addiction right there, because once I bought one, I was like, oh, I just keep purchasing them. But yeah, hard to believe that it was 10 years ago today, or 10 years ago that he won his last one, but he's been kind of in the news a little bit. It looks like he's partnering up with some bank, and he's going to make a couple runs for JGR in the Xfinity Series. We don't know what races yet, but he has said he's got at least 2 races in that 19 car. So I'm definitely, as a Trevor Bayne fan, I'm excited to see that. I thought he did great things in that 18 car last year down in the Xfinity Series. So yeah, had to bust out the old Iowa win. Beautiful car.
Yeah, man, that's a beautiful diecast, and would be cool to see Trevor Bayne back behind the wheel. He kicked ass last year in that 18 car, so definitely would be nice to see him bring some speed to that 19.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he had a sponsorship lined up to run a full-time season with Gibbs, and then they turned out to be not real, so they backed out at the last minute. So that kind of sucked to see, but looks like we're getting at least 2 races. So that's 2 opportunities to go out there and get the job done. See what we can get for next year.
That Daytona 500 win must have been a blessing, but a curse, because I mean, they expected so much from him, and he just hasn't been able to put anything together. But he's a great driver.
It's crazy because the Daytona 2011 Daytona 500 was the first NASCAR race that I ever watched, and so my dad was a big Dale Jr. guy, so he had me sit down and watch the race with him, and I was like, I'm not gonna root for Dale Jr. I'm gonna pick my own guy. So I was like, I'm gonna take the guy who wins the Daytona 500, and that's gonna be my guy rolling forward. And it was Trevor Bayne, and here we are.
Hey, that's how it's got to happen. So that's how people get sucked in,
Yep.
Which we love to see.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Nick is still probably the biggest and only Trevor Bayne fan you'll ever see.
Hey man, that's not true. We got a whole group on Facebook. You can come find us at Trevor Bayne Diehards on Facebook.
Oh man. All right, guys. So for my diecast of the week, we're talking New Hampshire this week, and I had to bust out Kevin Harvick's 2018 New Hampshire win when he gave your boy Kyle Busch the bump and run for the win. Oh man, that was a great season. 8 wins for that 4 car. The big three were huge that year, but Joey Logano came down and crushed them and won the championship. But beautiful, beautiful Busch car that won at New Hampshire, and Kevin got some lobster afterwards.
Man, with that 2001 car on the track this week, I figure you whip that one out. But
Yeah,
still
I
a
think
great looking car.
I have busted out a couple of my 29 die casts like 3 or 4 times this year just because it's his last season.
Mm-hmm. Say what you want about the guy, but you got to give him respect. And those visuals of him pacing with Richard Childress were just so cool.
Oh, I'm gonna get, if they make a picture of that, I'm gonna get that framed in my studio because that was just so fucking badass. I just wish that it wasn't the Hunt brothers car because I hate that car.
Yeah,
it's horrible luck for Kevin Harvick. It's like when Kyle Busch was in the Pedigree car, it just didn't work out.
Also weird that Pedigree is just part of the candy company, but you don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're part of like Mars Food, so yeah, you know that you shouldn't give your dog that stuff. All right, guys, so let's get into the top stories this week. It was announced today Ross Chastain will be sponsored by Busch Beer. Starting next season, they'll be departing from Stewart-Haas Racing and then move over to Trackhouse. It's been kind of rumored that this was going to happen. We've heard it for a couple weeks now. Busch Light tweeted yesterday they had a watermelon rolling by a can. And I was kind of hoping, I was like, okay, hopefully it's either a watermelon flavor or they're fucking with us. And nope. It was Ross Chastain. So, I mean, it's a good guy to sponsor. He's in the spotlight. He's probably NASCAR, one of NASCAR's most popular drivers right now. So, get a guy who's relevant right now, but that really sucks for Josh Berry because, you know, that is just going to take a lot of money away from Stewart-Haas Racing.
Yeah, it's a huge loss for Stewart-Haas. I'd say it's a bigger loss for Stewart-Haas than it is a win for Trackhouse. Just with how the speed we've seen in Stewart-Haas this season and their pool of drivers is just so unproven. I don't want to say they're bad, but they're just so unproven and they just need more time to settle in. But to lose a major sponsor like this and one that's so involved with NASCAR, I mean, they're a premier partner in NASCAR too, so they're slapped onto everything. It's gonna draw money. It's gonna draw fans away from Stewart-Haas and bring it over to Trackhouse. So I mean, solid, another great win for Justin Marks and Trackhouse and Pitbull, but just it sucks for Stewart-Haas to lose Busch and Kevin Harvick all in the same season.
It's gonna be weird that next season this is going to be the beer of Ross Chastain. This is not going to be the beer of Kevin Harvick and the 4 car. But yeah, what another win right there for Justin Marks. The dude just keeps killing it. But how about this for Ross Chastain? I mean, a couple years ago, this guy was driving unsponsored JD Motorsports cars, and now he's got like one of the top sponsors in NASCAR. The official beer of NASCAR is going to be his sponsor. So that's just huge for Ross and just goes to show how far that he's come in his career. So yeah, another big win for him and another big win for Trackhouse. But yeah, definitely that's gonna be tough on SHR as a whole going into next season.
Who would have thought it 5 years ago when Kevin and Ross got together at Darlington and Kevin talked all that shit. You know, this is why they get those inexperienced guys in these fast cars, and he's not going to have a great career. And now this guy is taking Kevin's sponsor. Just the fucking irony it is.
Well,
oh my God.
Kevin couldn't care less because Kevin's on his way out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he wants Stewart-Haas to remain successful. They gave him so much, but he doesn't really care where his sponsors go. I mean, he probably tried to keep Busch. Said, hey, wait a minute, stay with these guys. They got another good guy in the pipeline. But from what I understand, this deal was made months and months and months ago. Like Stewart-Haas isn't surprised. Bob Pockers tweeted out that this was like the worst kept secret in NASCAR.
Yeah.
So no, everybody was expecting this, but it still kind of hurts everybody to see it official.
Yeah, stings, especially for me as a lifelong Kevin Harvick fan who loves Busch Light and hates Ross Chastain. So it's going to be a difficult transition to find my new main beer now.
So you're going to give up the Busch Light after this season.
Yep, I think it's going to go over to either Bud Light or Michelob.
It's just going to be really weird to see Busch Light on the #1 car next season. That's going to take some time for the eyes to get adjusted to.
Well, Anheuser-Busch is a DEI sponsor. I mean, they sponsored Dale Jr. for all those years, and the one car is still left over from when Ganassi took over for DEI or bought DEI. And so it's kind of more stuff coming full circle, I'd say. And Bud was never on the one car. I'm curious to see how many races they'll do, because you think about it, they haven't done too many races with Kevin this season. So I want to know how this fits into the plan. If Trackhouse is going to drop some sponsors or what, and see how involved they actually are. Maybe Anheuser-Busch has taken this as an opportunity to step back a little bit more, do even less races, which we'd hate to see.
Yeah, well, that also leaves Advent Health. They're leaving Trackhouse after this year. They're not going to be re-signing their contract. So that leaves one sponsor leaving out of Trackhouse. So I guess they could cover whatever Advent Health's schedule was for sponsorships. And then who knows, maybe there'll be a sponsor that Josh Berry could pick up that'll move over to the 4-car. It's really an open book for that guy right now. Who knows if Hunt Brothers is going to be staying on, if they'll just go over to Priest because they got that big relationship with him. If Mobile One will stick on the 4-car, or who knows if Bass Pro will just transition over with Josh Berry as well. So, I mean, he's got a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, it's going to be a scary start to the season if they can't get some dollars together for that 4-car, because we've seen the performance out of the other 3 cars, and it's been scary.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to who Josh is going to bring with him, because I believe at the time of the announcement, they said that they had nothing at the time, that they were still looking. I mean, they're going to find something eventually, but it is going to be, yeah, I don't think as of now that they don't have anything. So that'll be interesting going forward. Maybe they're just going to have to throw Haas on the car. You don't know. That's what they did for Cole Custer. So that's what they did for Kurt Busch too. So you don't know. They're gonna find something, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to think of who they could bring over.
Yeah, they could just throw Haas until they find something. But as you say, Bass Pro, like Tire Pros, Black Rifle, all those sponsors are more junior motorsport sponsors. So I would think they're more loyal to Dale Jr. than they are Josh Berry, even though Josh Berry's like Junior's little project, if you will. But then you make the point about Hunt Brothers Pizza and those sponsors, like those are more affiliated with Kevin Harvick. And so Kevin Harvick has a agency that represents some of these drivers. So I feel like they'll steer more towards his agency and his drivers rather than stick with Josh Berry. It's going to be interesting, and it may take him proving something on the track to some of these big companies to land something for the hood of his car.
Yeah, really the only sponsor I could see that's going to like stick around for sure would be Mobile One, just because they are a Stewart Haas staple on all 4 cars. All right, guys, and we're going to be ending our top stories with the SRX series debuting this week at Stafford. It's going to be a hell of a lineup. We got a lot of NASCAR stars going into this one, and yeah, it's just going to be fun. We got guys like Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin coming in here, so you know that there's going to be some hurt feelings with Denny Hamlin coming in.
Oh, shut up.
Well, the SRX did something really interesting this year. They got a deal with ESPN to run on Thursday nights, so it's a slower sports night for a lot of people. It's on a big network like ESPN, so hopefully that'll draw some wandering eyes, and they'll see some of these NASCAR guys. Which the other interesting thing they did was align their schedule. So NASCAR's going up to New Hampshire. Well, they're out in Stafford. They're real close. So a lot of these big names can do the double for the weekend, so to speak, and come out and race the XRX. I mean, you got NASCAR stars through all 6 of these races. So it's going to draw a lot of NASCAR eyes, and being on Thursday night prime time, it could just draw a lot of sports fans looking to see what's on ESPN that night.
Yep, pretty cool that they made that transition with ESPN. I'm so glad that Alan Bestwick is still sticking around and announcing. As the one guy that I do miss in the booth for NASCAR races, but we still get him for SRX. All right, guys, so let's talk our race review. We had trucks at Mid-Ohio, and Xfinity and Cup were over at Atlanta. Mid-Ohio was a goddamn mess. I'm not even going to really talk about the ARCA race. Everybody was crashing, burning. We had teammates.
Hold on. There's one thing that's important about that ARCA race. That teammate at the end,
Yep,
the Higurani guy, he got suspended by ARCA.
I saw that.
He got suspended by ARCA. You got to be a big old dumbass to do something like that. So good on you, bud. You got suspended by one of the weirdest, dumbest racing series in the world.
Yeah, literally, this series is a joke. This series is a joke. Anybody who goes down there to say they want to better themselves, you're not going to better yourselves in the ARCA Racing Series. Series is a joke, and there is absolutely no reason for this kind of dumb series to be racing road courses, because you're gonna have dumb shit like that all the time. There's just no respect down in that series, and there's no respect in the truck series. We'll get to that a little later, but yeah, this is joke of a series. They should not be running road courses.
It's people with too much money, or kids that their parents have a lot of money, because I mean, we already know that they're way past the bottom line for racing in that series. And it's just like, I mean, the winner of the Daytona race pulled out because he couldn't.
Right. He's like, he couldn't do it anymore.
No. So I'm interested more as a whole with ARCA to see where it goes or how long it's sustainable.
Yeah, like you guys said, it's a joke of a series, and I'm glad that they suspended that kid, because you can't use your car as a damn weapon. That's a good way to hurt a guy.
He waited the whole lap, like he got spun out and just waited, and I was like, he's not going to do that. There's no way he's going to do that, and he did it.
Yep, what a jackass. Man. But let's talk trucks at Mid-Ohio, the other circus in town. We had Corey Heim leading the field to a single file start as they started in the rain, which I thought was a horrible idea, because immediately when they went into turn one, they flew the caution because no one had any visibility. And then we had guys that were wiping out under caution. It was just way too wet. Horrible move by NASCAR to have them go green at that time. Yeah, just not smart.
Well, one of us picked Corey Heim to win, I think. So good on you.
We had a lot of trucks coming off the track here, guys. It just was not good racing here.
39. All right, so with still 6 laps to go in the race, they were up to 39 incidents. 39 trucks are not, well, just 39 total incidents, and there were still 6 laps to go in that race. I don't know how many more accumulated after that, but that number right there, that's a joke. Like, I know that truck series in the rain that's a recipe for disaster. And I mean, the truck series, you just got a bunch of these inexperienced guys. You know there's going to be carnage. It's wild. Yeah, it might be entertaining, but when you look at the pure racing in it, it's just that this race was just not it. And I'll throw it out there as my hot take. I don't think truck series needs to be racing on road courses either. Every road course we go to, it's just a bunch of bullshit like this, and it's just kind of a joke, and it's kind of hard to watch. Like,
because they're all inexperienced guys that don't know how to run on road courses. That's why.
Well, here's my idea. They have to cut their teeth, because all those guys, or most of those guys, want to get up to Cup Series. Cup Series is going to race on road courses, so we don't want to take away that learning experience from them. But I don't think they should be racing in the rain. Like, it's too much of a judgment call for them to race in the rain, and then these guys who are young and just trying to learn don't really ever race in the rain in their lifetimes up till this point. So you get that on there. And my other big problem is these races like that are away from the rest of the series. Like, you had the trucks this week in Ohio while everybody else was in Atlanta. You had that one weekend when it was Gateway weekend when Xfinity was up in Portland. I feel like something in the sport gets taken away when you have something so important as pit stops and how much they play into the pit crews being so important into this race, and you take that aspect of the race away, and then they're racing stage to stage until they can stop, change the tires, beat up each other a little bit, and then come back in and do non-competitive pit stop. I don't really like the non-competitive pit stops as a fan,
especially on a road course, because that's what, like, stopping, like, we took away the the stage breaks on the road courses and Cup and Xfinity, and we even did it in the trucks for a little bit, but they didn't do it this weekend because of the teams being down in Atlanta. And I just think that takes away the strategy. Strategy on road courses is what makes road courses fun. And this has come from a guy who doesn't necessarily enjoy road course racing, but when you have the different strategies, it makes it more fun. But you can't do that when you have these non-competitive pit stops. It's like, oh yeah, you get 4 minutes. You can come in. You're gonna retain your spot afterwards, and then it's just, yep, let's raise hell, and that's what they did.
And I feel like there's so much that's missing with that. Like the strategy's gone, and I know we race at different tracks every week, and the rules are always changing, but to change something that important and that adds such a dynamic element to the sport we love to watch, and just erase that for a week, it feels almost insulting to the fan. And I get why they do it, the money, and all these guys are using the Cup crews, so if the Cup crews are gone, then they can't do it. But I say line up the schedules better. We can still go out all these tracks, but just line up the schedules better.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any reason why we shouldn't have live pit stops for every single race, because that's fun. Like, I love watching the pit stops. I love seeing how fast they can get it done. I love watching the pit clock. So yeah, they need to get that figured out, because it just turns it into a boring race. It's why I don't really watch ARCA, because every single race they have the mandatory pit stops where they have to stop at red flag, and it's not fun. It's predictable. It's really just a predictable race. Everyone can just figure out their strategies there. But let's get back into it. Ben Rhodes won stage 1. Great points for that truck. And then Ty Majeski won stage 2. And then those two went for a little ride after Ty Majeski went into his teammate Ben Rhodes, and they both spun, taking them out of contention for the race. Nick, that's your good old buddy Ty Majeski.
Man, takes his own teammate out. A couple weeks ago at Gateway, he takes out Zane Smith on the race for the lead. Yeah, that's all you got to say about the guy. That's all I'll say. I'm saving my big rant for our next race.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
you gotta save your breath.
I'm sure that they had a meeting about it at ThorSport, but I don't want to put too much on it. They still walked away with the second and third most points of the weekend from what I'm looking at. Ben Rhodes got 50 and Ty Majeski got 49. So they had a good showing that weekend. I think they'll talk about it. I think they'll let bygones be bygones and just move on.
Yeah, still not a bad day for them. Alrighty, and then Corey Heim won the demo derby at Mid-Ohio. Yeah, he survived. He was able to get the dub, but that was just a terrible race. That was probably one of the worst races that I've watched all year. Just was not fun. You had guys that just had no respect out on the track, and guys that didn't know how to race in the rain, just spinning out everywhere. It just was not fun, and I just can't wait for them to go back to Pocono.
I thought the aspect of the race going from wet to dry is always an interesting in racing, because I mean, you saw in that keyhole turn 2, I believe it is, when it was raining and wet, they were going all the way around the outside because that's where the most grip was. And then as soon as it dried out, it was weird because they took one of the stage breaks and then they came back and it was like a different day. Like the track was all dry all around, and the racing was still shitty, but completely different from that aspect. So just the progression of the race, I thought, was at least kept it entertaining for the most part.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite race. I mean, I preferred to watch Xfinity Series qualifying on a super speedway type track instead of watching a truck series race. So that should tell you all you need to know about what I thought about that.
Well, those qualifying laps in general at Atlanta were sketchy, but I'm sure we'll get to all that too.
Oh yeah.
All right, and yeah, let's talk Atlanta. Guys, New Atlanta has aged really, really well. It doesn't feel like a typical super speedway track. You got guys that are way more spread out now. You got guys that are freaking loose as hell on this track. It seems like it is a real hybrid of old Atlanta mixed with like Daytona or Talladega. it's just some of the wildest racing that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean the Xfinity race, like they were talking during the race just about how usually at these super speedways they're not allowed to lock bumpers, but they can still push, but nobody was feeling comfortable enough to push. Like there was a car length in between each guy out there, but it still looked like pack racing. It was a strange phenomenon to watch. But it wasn't bad. I'm still a little skeptical about all the hype that Atlanta brought this weekend in general. More so that I'm just worried that they're going to try to do this at every place they can.
Yeah, exactly. Was exactly going to be my point. Is I don't Atlanta keep Atlanta its own beast. It is its own beast. But let's not do this let's not turn every mile and a half into this, because the mile and a half package for these next gen cars, it races phenomenally. Let's look at this Coke 600. Let's look at Kansas. Let's look at the races that those put on. I do not want to see pack racing at every kind of racetrack, because then NASCAR is going to say, "Oh, well, it's entertaining. Fans want the cars closer to one another." No. I don't want that, and it would be a joke. And I think that's what would get me to stop watching, is if we turn every single racetrack into this Atlanta.
I will say though,
Yeah.
do whatever you want to Texas. It can't be worse than what it is.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, this should have been the track that they've turned into a super speedway. Just repave Atlanta and then just reconfigure this thing, because yeah, like you said, nothing can be worse with what we have right now with that track.
And I don't think that NASCAR is going to Atlanta. They had to try something different. Attendance was down. They were losing dates. Like they had to do something. And yeah, it's worked now. But again, we saw it in the 90s when they built all these tracks. Like if something's working just because it works one place doesn't mean we need to go all balls to the wall and do it everywhere. But it's definitely an interesting weekend to look forward to now. I mean, Dale Jr. on the broadcast saying it's the hottest ticket in NASCAR. That's a big endorsement. That's a huge endorsement from somebody like Dale Jr.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went to the last Atlanta race with the old pavement and the first Atlanta race with the super speedway, and yeah, completely different, but I enjoyed both. I think they're both unique in their own way, and yeah, I just can't wait for the future of this track with how it ages and how the racing plays out. And night racing in the summer was fucking cool at this track.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the drivers like not baking in the heat and humidity out there too.
Yeah.
So.
Alrighty, so we had Chandler Smith leading the field to green in the Xfinity Series race, and early spin for my pick last week, Parker Kligerman. He had a flat tire, and then Riley Herbst. Man, oh man, does this guy need some luck coming his way? But he won stage one, but
that counts for something, right?
It counts for something, but he's got to get himself a win here if he does want to lock himself into the playoff. Where is he sitting at for standings right now?
For standings, he's 11th.
Okay, yeah, he's a lot better.
He's barely there, but let's just talk about this though, because Riley Herbst, out of the gates, he rattled off like 6 or 7 straight top 10s to start the year off, and then we're like,
dude, he made Cole Custer look like shit.
Yeah, we had him talking like, oh, what he's doing this, but Cole's not doing this. But no, yeah, and then ever since those like first 7 races, he's just kind of gone back to the Riley of old. Some of that's not of his doing. He has been taken out in a lot of bullshit while running decent. He's been running well, but a lot of stuff that hasn't gone his way. But yeah, what is this, like year 3 of the Riley Herbst experience in that 98 car, and still no wins to show for? Still no wins in his entire Xfinity Series career. Yeah, he brings the monster money, but at what point are we just like, come on, he just can't get it done?
Well, I mean, you look at it's another Stewart-Haas Racing. You talk about them losing all this stuff at the top. Look what's there to support it. You got a Cole Custer and you got a Riley Herbst to build back into that. It's not like that. That's how deep the SHR woes go. It just looks bad as a whole. So, I mean, he walked out of there with 11 points and he won a stage.
Yeah.
So what? Like, come on. Like, I don't know, but that's also the product of this speedway-esque racing, where like something like that can absolutely ruin your day. And I'm saying he's happy with what happened to him, because without the stage break, he's got 1 point.
Yeah.
So he'll take it, I guess. You'd wish he doesn't, and like who knows how he cut the tire. I don't know. And it sucks that he got run over, but it was inevitable as soon as that tire went down.
Yeah.
I don't think you could fault this one for talent
No.
more than his other performances.
Right. There's been a few that you can't really fault it for talent, but at the same time, it's just like, when is he like, I don't think that 98 car has ever had race winning speed in the 3 years that he's been in it. And hell, he's barely even had, there might be like 2 or 3 races where he might have top 5 speed, and that's it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's coming off the heels of Chase Briscoe's dominance in that car.
Yeah, that dude had fucking 9 wins in that car.
Is that the driver or is that the equipment? Because the whole team, it's kind of hard to tell. I still don't think it's the equipment. I think it's more the driver than the equipment. But the scales are starting to even out. It's like, oh, you got a bad driver, but now it's in bad equipment.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so old Riley, at least he got those points, helped him out a little bit with that race.
Yeah,
if he does somehow aim himself into the playoffs,
he's got 440 points. Are there 12 people that get in the
Xfinity? 12.
Yeah. So Kligerman is sitting there at 434 is in 12th. So and then 440, and then next up is Daniel Hemrick with 475. So it's going to be tight. You'd sure love to see a win to make that playoff berth locked in, but I don't know with what we're going to see with the upcoming tracks. He may be able to steal one somewhere, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Alrighty, guys. So let's get back into it. John Hunter Nemechek, he was kind of struggling in the back. He accidentally spun the 31 of Parker Retzlaff. That's another driver that's been cutting his teeth this year. He's been driving for Jordan Anderson Racing and kind of surprised us all with the speed that he's showing out of that car. Because first off, the guy doesn't really look like a race car driver. He'd look like he'd be streaming Fallout on Twitch. But dude, the guy proved us wrong, and he's a hell of a wheelman, but got taken out by Nematode.
Hey, well, I mean, let's look at the situation that he's in. He's driving for Jordan Anderson Racing first and foremost. It's not the best equipment out there. That's subpar at best. But Parker Retzlaff, he's a hell of a wheelman. We saw this last year when he was driving for what was it, RSS, or was it Ryan Sieg? I think he was driving one of the Sieg cars last year. When he was putting that thing up in the top 10, top 15 every time he stepped in that. So he's a hell of a wheelman. If he can just get in a little bit better equipment, I think we'll really see his full potential.
Yeah, I think he'd be a perfect candidate to take that 8 car next year at Junior Motorsports.
You could see him in the 8 car. You could probably see him go to Colleague. I haven't seen enough of him to be too impressed yet, but Colleague will take a chance on anybody, it seems, and it works out a lot of the time for those people. So
yeah, as long as you don't have crypto money, yeah, I think you're good.
If he's showing promise, then somebody will give him a shot, and it'd be cool. You want to see guys be successful.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and speaking of a guy that's trying to be successful, Sheldon Creed won stage 2, but how much is this going to help? This guy has been having a struggle of a year, just cannot stay out of the crashes. He really needs this stage win right here. He's glad he's got it.
He's another one. There's been a few races this year where he's legit had race winning speed, and I'm sure he looked at this one to be one of them because his teammate Austin Hill, whenever we come to these kind of racetrack, puts on an ass whooping. So RCR is going to build him a good piece. But yeah, he's just had a lot of bad luck too this year. I mean, last year was last year. That's his first year in the Xfinity Series. He struggled tremendously. This year, I've kind of seen him making strides as we've gone throughout the season. I mean, he's been in position every time it seems to go to a road course. Sheldon Creed is going to be in contention to win one of those things. But yeah, making those strides. But yeah, he definitely needed the stage win for sure. given the bad luck that he's had this season.
He walked out of here with 15 points. It looks like 35th place finish.
Oof.
He's not all that of a memorable driver. Like, he doesn't do anything on or off the track that jumps out, which is it can be good. Like, you don't want him out there making it a mess of things, of being an idiot and wrecking people, but you want him to show some grit his teeth out there a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive, but I'd rather err on the side of caution and build up your skills and get good finishes. Again, I'm not really too worried about any of these guys that DNF'd in these super speedway races. It's when you're out there crashing by yourself or something that you gotta take a look at. But I mean, the dude can wheel. It's just he's not all that exciting to me as a viewer.
Yeah. It just seems like he's kind of there in every race.
He's got no personality. Every time they interview him, he's just he's very dull and
like Chase Elliott.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Did I say that out loud?
Oh, oh no.
I think Chase Elliott is the most boring driver in the Cup garage, and that's my hot take.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I don't know how he wins popular driver of the year. That's all I'll say. He doesn't do anything
because of his last name. That's why.
Because of his last name.
I'm getting off topic.
No, that's okay, man. That's okay, man. We love the Chase slander on this show, but hey, man. All of his fans came from Dale.
They were just Dale Jr. Yeah. They were just recycled Dale Jr. fans, is what it was.
It's okay. That's okay. We won't fault them until they defend somebody right hooking somebody again.
That was a fun show.
Oh man, yeah, that was a real fun show. Holy shit!
Go back and watch the Coke 600 review before I existed.
Yeah,
check that show out.
Oh man, yeah, Nick had a fun one with that.
But Sheldon Creed, I mean, he's sitting, what is this, 10th in the playoffs? This NASCAR website's all out of whack. It goes out of order.
Is it the playoff standings or is it the regular season standings?
Well, it looks like it's the playoff stand. I don't know. It's the playoff standing, but it has Jeb Burton as an asterisk, and he's 13th, but he's sitting up here and saying, I don't know what I'm looking at here.
That's probably, the regular points, because Jeb's probably 13th in the regular points, but he's in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, but Sheldon Creed's sitting in 10th. He's got 460 points. He's got a little bit of a cushion, but another one of those guys where a race win would just really help him.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to stay clean because we know that he is a wreck magnet right now. So yeah, he's 10th right now, 26 points to the good, but I'd be pretty damn worried if I was that 2 car right now.
Well, that car can win. We've seen it win. We've seen it win, and he's got to take his time. I mean, this is the names are made here series. We're not expecting him to go out and win championships and each of these guys to be ready to go right away. And he's a well-known name, but he's still got some stuff to learn and stuff to prove.
Well, look at him in the truck series. It took him like 3 years. That first year wasn't any good, and that next year he won a race his second year in the trucks. And then the third year, he's won his championship. So just give him some time, and he's making the strides. It's just he's got to stay out of trouble. But
then he's on track maybe next year to walk away with the Xfinity Championship and get a nod into whatever.
I would not be surprised. No. I would not be surprised if Sheldon Creed gets his first win this year, and then he's going to take that momentum into next year, and he's going to have his breakout season next year. That's what I would call it right now.
Yeah. I hope so. Like, I agree with you guys. He's got the speed. He's just got to stay out of trouble. All right. So, we were talking about Riley Herbst earlier. He had a tire go down and just collected Ryan Sieg, Anthony Alfredo, Brandon Jones, and Sam Mayer. So,
good fucking Lord. We want to talk about drivers who are not living up to the car that they're driving in. We can talk about Brandon Jones for 3.5 hours. Oh man, going from Noah Gragson winning all those races a year ago, like a lot of this, it's the same thing. A lot of this is not Brandon Jones's fault, but he is sitting so far out of that playoff cut line right now. I said this when we did our first show of the season this year, like our little season preview. He has so much pressure on him this year to go out and deliver because he drove for Gibbs and that didn't go so well for him. And now he's stepping into a car that won. How many races did Noah Gragson win last year, Ian? 8, 9? He won 9
Mhm.
races last year, so you're stepping in. You got to fill some big shoes here. And this season, this is one that he wants to just throw away. And he's lucky he's got that Menards money. That's all I have
He's
to
Riley
say.
Herbst. He is Riley Herbst. It's the same situation, just a
Yeah.
year and a half later. Like he's stepping into a car that won 8 or 9 times, and he's underperforming. And I feel like we're a few weeks past the point where you can be like, well, this is just him getting used to a new team.
Yeah, no.
We're a little bit further past, and you'd like to, like I said last week in the race prediction video, you'd like to see him perform a little better. Like he doesn't need to go out and stink up the show. He's not going to go out and win 9 races like the car did last year. But that being said, he's taken over that spot with that team. You want him to win a race, probably 2. You'd expect him to win 2 races.
That's a top
this year.
5 car. He got gifted a top 5 car right there.
He bought a top 5 car.
He bought himself a top 5 car, and he has not done shit with it so far. He has to win if he wants to make the playoffs in his first year. And I gotta know, like, Menard's money aside, what is Dale Jr. thinking right now? He's like, this could not have gone any worse. But then again, he's got the Menards money filling his pocket.
Yeah,
so
Dale Jr. is thinking, I got a pocket full of Menards money, and I can sell some water. If I can sell some water heaters with this commercial, then I'll be fine. So
yeah,
I mean, he's sitting he's a 3 spots out of the playoffs now. I'm looking here, and
81
significantly far back from the cut line. The cut line is 440 points, and he's got 359, so he's almost 90 points away from even pointing his way in. He's going to have
to win
a stellar finish to his season, if not win. If he can't win, he better be finishing second every time.
The first thing that he has to go out and do is just got to put a clean race together. Every single race, I feel like this season in the Xfinity Series, we've always heard the 9 car for all the wrong reasons. Something always seems to go wrong for him. But that happens to Brandon Jones his entire career. So I just don't know. I don't know. He's got to go out and win, but the first step, he's a long ways away from putting a race win together. First things first, let's keep the car in one piece and let's run all the way.
He's just a very average driver. I mean, he's not bad. He's not good. He's just average. He's a guy who will maybe get you 1 win a year, maybe point his way into the playoffs, but I don't know. He's just not all that good and just not deserving for that 9
Look
car.
at the
like you said, he bought his way into it.
Look at the rides that he's been in. He RCR is RCR back when they really weren't all that, when he was in the 33 car for RCR.
I don't know, man. He was teammates with Daniel Hemrick, and Hemrick pointed his way into the Final Four like 2 years in a row without winning.
Like him or not, we're stuck with him. He's got a contract for a few years, probably with Junior Motorsports. So he may get better. He may stay the same. And if he gets better, he'll get a new contract. If he doesn't get better, he won't be back in that 9 car after a couple of years. So I don't know. We can't be too harsh on him, maybe, but he's just got to perform.
Yeah. All right. So going into, we had Austin Hill spinning, hard racing with Parker Kligerman. We saw Austin Hill was driving like a madman throughout this race. One of the best super speedway racers out there right now, making a ton of moves, but did not work out in the end.
By himself. mean, nobody was helping him. He drove through the field alone.
Yeah, just pass the guys one by one in that single file lane. The guy is fucking impressive.
It's tough, and I think it was Denny on his podcast saying that nobody was helping him, and the mindset in Xfinity is every man for himself. And in the Cup Series, you see a guy who's faster, you go with them because they're going to pull you to the front. So there's some kind of disconnect here with nobody wanting to help Austin Hill, not thinking, oh, second would be great in this race. Like, come on, I bet Brandon Jones and Riley Herbst would want to finish second behind Austin Hill. But it's so impressive what he was doing, and it sucks what happened to him. But when you're not getting much help, you got to make moves that are uncomfortable and put your car in uncomfortable situations. And unfortunately, one of them was a little too uncomfortable to handle.
Right. Exactly. All right, Nick, going into the final lap, your boy Justin Haley was pushing Daniel Hemrick until they got to the checkered line for one lap to go. And then he all of a sudden started sputtering because he was
You
running
stop
low
that
on
right.
fuel and decided to go below and try and pass him as he was running out
He
of fuel.
did pass him as he
Yeah.
was
He
running out of
passed
fuel.
him as he was running out of
Nick,
fuel.
Nick, tell us what you think about our good friend from Winnemac.
All right, so first things first, I was at a concert on Saturday night, but I pulled up the race on my phone for that last restart, and just in time I was like, all right, maybe we got a shot here. And then I was thinking, oh, we're gonna win this thing. Like we got a call car behind us. We are just gonna fly right by Nemechek, and this is ours, and we're gonna lock ourselves in the playoffs. And then Justin Haley pulls that shit, and I was like, oh, you got literally at the top of my lungs. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And then my mom, I was at a concert with my mom and my sister. She looks at me and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I got more important things going on right now. I'm all pissed off. But I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, you always think about cog racing on these kind of racetracks. They're known as their family on these kind of racetracks.
He
How
said it
many
himself on the radio. I don't know if you saw this part of the race. If you're at the concert, he said on the radio, like with 60 laps to go or something, he said, remember, he like told his spotter, remember, we're in it for a team win here.
team win? That is what
He
cog racing
said
is
that.
all about. Team win. Every
And then he
single one
pulled
of
that.
every single one of Justin Haley's Xfinity Series wins have come from the benefit of someone pushing him to the win. He is a Cup Series driver, and he comes into this shit, and he could just easily if he stays with Daniel Hemrick, they could go right by John Hunter Nemechek, or at least make it difficult for Nemechek. And Daniel Hemrick's going to win this race. But he decides he's going to go for it himself, and then he's going to come up with some lame bullshit excuse. Oh, I sputtered fuel, but hey, man, I just passed you. I'm sputtering fuel
Finished
as I'm
fourth.
passing. And he finished fourth. So I don't know.
I'm saying if you're running out of fuel, you better pull off on that last lap and finish where you finish. You can't almost pass a guy on the track, say, "Oh, I ran out of fuel," and then finish fourth. Like, and then the audacity of NBC to interview the two of them together.
Gathered.
That was peak television.
I see videos of Hemrick getting out of his car, and he absolutely just slammed his helmet because he's just like, dude. And then one of the first things he said to Haley was like, "What was that? Like, what are you doing? Like, this that I just don't understand." And this is why I personally hated when Daniel Hemrick announced that he was going to go drive for Cog Racing, because I did not believe in him. It seems like Chris Rice and Matt Cog, they're about two guys and two guys only. They're all about AJ Allmendinger, and they're all about Justin Haley. Those are their two boys right there. And now
those are their Cup boys, so they better be all about those boys.
Those other boys right there. Well, I just imagine if that was Daniel Hemrick who pulls that move on a Justin Haley, he's probably getting an earful from Chris Rice. I guarantee you, Justin Haley did not get an earful from Chris Rice. I will bet you that. Because he's a little golden boy. But at the end of the day, it's bullshit. I'm happy we got a second place finish, but it's just our 13th second place finish of Daniel Hemrick's career, and it's just another one that got away, and it's another one that got away, but it shouldn't have gotten away.
His one win was pretty special. I bet you were happy
his one
about
win. Oh, I was very happy about that. You check out my pinned Twitter, my pinned tweet on Twitter. You'll see all about that. Yeah, very happy for that.
I got FaceTimes till like 4 a.m. that night.
But yeah,
but like also the fact that Haley's not running for Xfinity points, like it's just extra chicken shit, because he's not running for the points, and yeah, the team win, and yeah, that guy's getting Hemrick a win there would make their whole situation as a facility that much more comfortable for everybody. So why he doesn't, when he has the opportunity to get behind it, because again, with how far apart those cars are on the track, you have the one out in the lead and then two behind him, they pull out. This guy out in front has no help. And so you sure as hell have a chance. And if it's I don't know. It just seemed, it was weird all around. And I think we should check in on the colleague race shop see if it's still standing, because that place may be burned to the ground today.
It's just it's just at this point I just see we're finding new ways to get screwed over. I mean, it's just I'm not surprised by it, to be honest.
Is being a Hemrick fan a lot like being a Cubs fan?
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, we get screwed over. We get screwed over a lot.
Just this, there's always next year. Oh, next race.
There's always next race, and it's just kind of how it's been going. This entire college experience for Daniel Hemrick has been hell. I mean, last year we made the playoffs, but we ran like shit because the cars sucked. This year, kind of the same thing. We've had it's just bad luck, no speed in the cars, and then we finally get a chance to win a race, and our dipshit Cup Series teammate decides he wants to go get this one for himself, which makes no sense. But I mean, it is what it is. You just move on to the next one. Another second place finish. Good points day. That's the most positive outlook I can have on it. Because we needed it. I mean,
39 points out of there. It's second most on this list that I'm looking at. So
you needed it because we're on that cut line. We're near that playoff bubble right now. So gotta keep racking up the points. But fuck, man. And of course, out of all the drivers, it had to be Justin Haley to do it. It had to be Justin Haley to do it. He had to get the best of me again.
In the natural standings, he's 8th in points. He's racking up a lot of points this season. But the problem is, without that win, he's sitting 10th.
Yeah, on that. So we're on that bubble, but
he's solidly above the cut line though.
Yeah, this one did help.
That counts. That counts for something.
Yeah,
two second place finishes at Atlanta this season.
Yeah,
That's
tough.
This one should have been a win, but that's Justin Haley, fucking dipshit. What are you gonna do?
The rough life of Nick Kinsel continues. What will Justin Haley do next year? But then, and then that all leads up to a John Hunter Nemechek win.
All right, so that is what Cog Racing, that is what Chris Rice and what Matt Cog should be most pissed off about is Justin Haley let John Hunter Nemechek win that race by pulling the move that he did, because there was no way once he pulled out of line, Nemechek, he was gone. Nobody was getting to him. So
they were put in a tough spot because for like the last 100 laps, Colleague was in control of the race. And they were lining up 1, 2. They were first, second, and third. And then in the choose cone, they would all go topside and line up behind each other. And the 5th place car would come up and take first place in line. And then they wouldn't be able to do anything. But that time they were 1, 2, 4. So it was kind of tough. And then Chandler Smith, I feel Colleague wins this race if Chandler Smith doesn't run out of gas right when they hit the gas. So the whole situation was screwed when they had to go to overtime and all that, and that just was an overall fail for it was like when Junior Motorsports was leading at Daytona with all 4 cars, and then none of them finished.
They didn't win the race. Like that's what you got to be most pissed off about.
It sucked all around situationally, and most of it was on Haley, but it was just a tough situation overall to do those 2-lap shootouts.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the Cup Series race. And like we were saying at the beginning of this review, the racing there was just absolutely incredible. With it going from day to night, it was just phenomenal with the type of racing that this super speedway 1.5 mile style track goes for. It's just so unique and so cool.
Well, what I think really helped was they knew that they were fighting the rain. They knew that they were racing halfway pretty much from when they dropped the green. They all knew that the rain was coming, and I think that's what just made this race 100 times more exciting. Because if they didn't have that threat of rain, then I don't think it would be as crazy as it was. But once that threat of rain, and they knew that this was pretty much going to be a race to halfway and see how far you can get before it comes. These guys were just going at it, and it was fun. This was a fun race to watch.
This is why I feel like we need to pump the brakes on Atlanta just for a second, because you look at that stage 1, it was a lot of with the sun still on the track. Can you imagine if this race was still in the day and their cars were all as unsettled as they were in stage 1? Because this would have been a completely different race. Everybody would have been taking it easy. But I don't think the drivers were really being told until towards the end of stage one that they weren't going to make it to the end. And stage one was a lot of like people just trying to log laps, get single file, which is fine. Stuff was still a little bit shady. You could make moves, but then when the sun went down and the race was definitely not going to make it to the end, and nobody knew it was going to happen, that's when it really picked up. And you saw some incredible stuff. I watched it at this computer, at my computer right here, and I was sitting there, and there was one moment where the 19 was in like 12th or 15th or something, and he would go into turn one and pass 3 cars in the third lane.
On that
and
third
then
one. Yeah,
and I was like,
insane.
I would sit here and I was like, and then same lap, go into 3, pick 2 more off on the top lane, and he's up to 6th or something. I was like, no way. And then he goes into turn 1 of the next lap again and does the same thing. And my jaw was on the floor. It was incredible once the sun went down and the intensity of the racing was ramped up with the rain. And it sucks that it had to end, but I don't think it would have been that exciting right away if the rain wasn't coming.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely. Harrison Burton, he had a great qualifying run, got himself into the top 10, but he spun out early into turn 2. Couldn't get it going. I think he ended up being like 5 laps down, so it pretty much took him out of contention for this race.
Another one. We're year 2 into this experiment, and it's not going so well for Mr. Harrison Burton. Yeah, getting adjusted to a new car, getting adjusted to Cup Series. He's pretty bad. He's pretty bad.
He should have never left Toyota. He
Yeah,
showed a lot of
No.
promise at Joe Gibbs. He
Yeah.
should have bided his time, waited for something to open up, and
He's pretty bad.
he could still be eating up cars in the Xfinity series right now. But
Oh,
he
yeah,
jumped to Ford,
'cause-
jumped to Cup, and it just hasn't worked out. But that can't also be on him. I mean, it's Wood Brothers. Sure, they get help from Penske, but
They haven't had race winning speed since Ryan Blaney left.
no, they didn't even have race winning speed with Ryan Blaney. He just was able to win anyway.
Yeah.
At least I don't know if that's a hot take, but I don't think that team has ever had race winning speed since
No.
what, the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, it's been
I don't know, before I
really
was
long
watching
time.
or alive.
Yeah, I mean, they've only won 2 races since we've been alive. So what does that say?
So yeah, I mean, I can't fault it. He's got a good name. He brings in money.
That's
But
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just think it's weird with like Jeff Burton in the booth talking
Yeah.
about Harrison Burton. And I guess from what I understand, Jeff Burton's pretty hard on him just as a racing parent. So I can't imagine what it's like to then have your dad be an analyst.
Right.
Huh. I would think the opposite, because Jeff talks so much shit about Noah as much as he can on the broadcast. I thought he was just defending his baby boy as much as possible.
No, I may be completely wrong, but I feel like I
Yeah.
watched something where they were saying how hard it is for Jeff Burton because he's pretty hard on his kid there, and he wants him to do well. And
It can't be fun watching him being in an incident every single week. That's all I have to say.
the other thing that if I can have a tangent real quick, the other thing that is just always been a little uncomfortable is when like Dale Jr.'s around and other people bring up Dale Earnhardt Sr. and like obviously it was in front of everybody with the pace laps this week. But just like Steve Letarte was talking about what a tragedy everything was, and it was, but then like for Dale Jr. to sit there silent, I don't think he likes to talk about it unless he can be in control of the narrative. And that's a little bit uncomfortable for me. And I don't know if you guys feel that too.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that. I mean, it's a touchy subject to
So
talk
tough.
about, but I mean, they were talking about the 29 and why Kevin made that transition and what that meant to Richard Childress. So yeah, I can see that, but I mean, I feel like it's been 22 years now. It's definitely, it's not as fragile as it was, but yeah, I definitely get you that it would be tough for Dale Jr. I'm sure that was a hard weekend for him too, just seeing that car back out there.
Anyways, sorry to go on that tangent.
Oh, no,
I was
you're good.
having those feelings like, man, it's weird that Junior has to sit here and listen to this.
Yeah,
I wonder. Not even that. I feel like he's uncomfortable. I just wonder if he is.
You'd think that they would have him in control of the conversation.
Yeah, no.
Alrighty, so we had Ryan Blaney. He edged out Kyle Larson to win stage one. This was a hell of a battle here. It was only a couple thousandths of a second for that stage win, but really good playoff point for Ryan Blaney. He already locked himself in with that Coca-Cola 600 win. So yeah, he's looking for a deep playoff run right now, boys.
Yeah, I mean, he's solidly in the points even amongst the winners, and he's definitely shown a lot more gumption than he has the last season. It's just I feel like he's got a little bit more. They found something that's working for him. I think you'd still want to see him win a little more, but Ford in general has been down unless it's at Atlanta. So I just think he's having a solid year.
Yeah, definitely. Big turnaround from last year.
I'm not a fan of Penske either, just in general, like especially when it was Joey and Brad running there and they were always having run-ins with Kyle. But I actually like Ryan Blaney, and I tried very hard not to because he started driving for Penske. So good on him. He's winning fans over if he can win me over.
Yeah, I've always liked the guy. Real likable. I feel like he doesn't really do anything to piss off fans or other drivers. So yeah, good all around guy. Just needs to start winning a little bit more. Early spin for William Byron after contact with Corey LaJoie. Ended up getting a flat tire, but like we saw later in the race, that didn't really hurt him too
I was going
much.
to say, I don't want to hurt him too bad.
Yeah. We had Kyle Larson spinning after getting loose. And he got hit by the 43, collecting Briscoe and a few other guys. So Hendrick Motorsports, they were having some real early trouble in this one.
It's been a weird season for Kyle Larson. I really feel like his season has been defined by checkers or records. He's either winning races. He is either winning races or he is in the garage. That's how it's been for Kyle this season.
Yeah, I feel like that's really going to hurt him in the playoffs if that's
the playoff points. I mean, he's not going to have the points, so you got to finish races here, bud.
Yeah, without wins, he's sitting 1 point ahead of Kevin Harvick right now.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just unfortunate, and you wonder why. I mean, when he wrecked, they came down pit road right away because the right rear was flat, right? Why didn't they change all 4 tires? I mean, I feel like you'd rather go a lap down than DNF, which is exactly what he did.
Yeah, and then his tire exploded
because he was pulling up. It was when he was exiting pit lane, his tire exploded and it ruined his race.
Yep.
And then it created a rub that he later had to, and like, yeah, he got a few more laps in, but I feel like, yeah, maybe you don't have the pressures right or something, or maybe it all wasn't prepped, but at least changed. I mean, he 4-wheel slid across the whole thing. I don't really understand the risk reward, because I mean, was he just going to catch up to the field and then come back around and change all 4 again as soon as they get him prepped? I don't know. It just seemed odd to me, and that it didn't seem like a Cliff Daniels type of decision.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a really weird move by Cliff Daniels, because usually he's the smartest guy on top of the box every week. So yeah, I don't know if that was like a Kyle decision saying like, tires on this side feel fine, but I don't know. But either way, that just fucked up their whole race.
And the idea of him being checkers or records, I feel like a lot of it isn't his fault. Like he's still a heck of a driver, but he's just been having a lot of shit luck, which I mean, I guess a lot of racing is as a place and time thing, but this year it just hasn't gone his way.
Yeah, and the guy, he just races really hard, and the people around him want to race him really hard too. So
well, they know he's a threat.
Yeah, and so when both of them are doing that, it just ends up in calamity. So all right, and then we had Corey LaJoie spinning, and he collected Ross Chastain and Ty Gibbs, pretty much taking those guys out of contention for the race. And then that's when pretty much everyone got the green flag for, hey, rain is coming, start to race your balls off. Brad Keselowski won stage 2, and this guy, he looked like he was going to be a huge threat in this
Brad
one.
Looked fast.
Yeah, we know he is one of the best at super speedway racing, and yeah, he was lights out fast and won that second stage.
I thought he was going to be doing the beat, and then they just got put in such a difficult situation with do we pit? Do we stay out?
Yeah.
You got the rain coming, but
I
if
mean, he was one
we
of the guys that ended up pitting, right?
Yeah.
yeah, he had to pit. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
elected
Yeah, he was the
to
first
fix it.
one into the pits.
he still finished sixth. So I mean, that means he drove back through too, which is also just really impressive. I mean, you couldn't. There's a lot of people trying to make moves, but he was successfully pulling off moves, and that
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great run for him. And I don't. It's another one of those guys I really don't like, but I want to see him be successful with this new team and see if they can bring Roush back to its former
Right.
glory.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like you're saying, it's tough to pass like that here because it's not as wide as a normal Daytona or Talladega.
No.
So yeah, when you're making moves like that, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure.
All right, and we have Bubba Wallace and Ryan Preece spinning, which pretty much brought out the caution. Rain was coming. They were riding around for a little bit. Guys were getting pissed off, but what I thought was great that they did is that they had them run out in the caution, see if it was going to start raining. It did, and then they went in because they just didn't want a repeat of what happened at Daytona in August of last year when all of a sudden we knew the rain was coming, but we didn't know when. And then all of a sudden in turns 1 and 2, it just started downpouring. So smart on NASCAR to kind of wait it out. Let's see how it is, and then go into the pits and just call the race because it was already a Sunday night. So like people were going to work in the morning, just call it. So
Well, I think
smart.
that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like a lot of people were pissed off about, oh, if we're running under caution, we could be maybe racing right now. Like, no, because if they drop that green flag and there's a big pile that there was last year, whose fault is that? NASCAR's fault. And so people are pissed off at NASCAR for not going green, but those same people would be pissed off if NASCAR went green and we had the same incident as we did at Daytona. It was 100% the right decision.
Well, and I wonder if people are pissed because a Hendrick driver won and they just waited around. But I'm in total agreement. You can't just send him out. I mean, they kept showing the radar on the broadcast the whole time.
Right.
It was coming. It's not like it's not even it's, which I guess is the counter argument too. But it's not like it was in Daytona where this little blip on the radar showed up and dumped a bunch of water in turn 1. But at the same time, it's coming, and you don't know how soon even the drizzle is going to start affecting the racetrack, and you gotta keep these guys safe first off, and second off, I feel like even with the way when they stopped the race, I still feel like we got a pretty climactic ending. I mean, there was restart, people on different tires, with William Byron getting around AJ. I don't think AJ did enough to block all that, but like I feel like that was a good natural stopping point versus like how much water is too much water if they drop the green again.
Right.
And like another beneficiary of that is Michael McDowell, who was out of gas.
Yep.
And we weren't even sure he was going to make it around for the caution. So could you imagine if they say, oh, we're going to go green, then Michael McDowell has to pull off. And then they're like, oh, wait, never mind. If I'm FRM, like I'd be protesting the crap out of that. I'd be like, well, you said you're going to go. And so we pulled out of the line. And then, so I feel like it was a good natural stopping point. Nobody got really screwed over. The race ended on people's own decisions, which was even a problem that people were having with the Chicago race was, again, they decided to shorten it and it fucked up the strategy, but everybody could make their own strategy calls. They're all looking at the same data. So I don't know what people are so upset about with this one. Like they got to be safe. We don't want another Daytona because I mean, the wrong person won that race. So who knows what this was supposed to look like, but I feel like this was the best of any result that could have been with what we knew about the weather.
Yeah, they did everything in their power that they could to bring in a successful night of racing. I thought this was probably top 5 race of the year for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and we're obviously been excited about Chicago, rain shortened. We got excited about this one, rain shortened. Like we are so happy to have the racing that we had these past 2 weeks, and we didn't even get all of it that we were owed. So I mean, the product is there. The guys know what they're doing. And it sucks that it had to end early, but it made a hell of a show.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, good for William Byron. This guy has been fucking lights out this year. I believe this is what, his 5th win this year? Fourth win?
Fourth
win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth.
Fourth win, and he's got the points now too. So yeah, it's been a hell of a year for him, and really because I was one of those guys who was like, when is he going to show up? When is he going to show up? He struggled early, but now these last couple of years, he's really shut me up because he is just taken off, and he's going to be a threat. He is going to be a threat.
Yeah. He's 21 points ahead of everybody. I mean, set aside the wins. Could you imagine where he'd be if he didn't have that 60-point penalty?
Right? Yeah.
Like, good Lord.
I forgot about that.
He'd be gone. We'd have another Matt Kenseth 2003 situation if we were still doing the Winston Cup format. Like, he would have won on the second to last race. Like, this guy's leagues ahead of the field, and it's impressive knowing that they all have the same car. It's all the same.
Most importantly, he's got 27 playoff points right now, so that is going to be a huge advantage to him, and we still have races to go before the playoffs get underway, so we can just keep racking those up. So he's on it.
Ian, put your earmuffs on, but it's no guarantee that he's going to do anything with that, though, with Harvick's 9-win season not making the championship. So
yeah, man,
like he may be a right into the round of 8, but there's no guarantee that he's going to go out there and win a championship with the format that we run right now. But it's still an impressive season for sure.
He's got the 27 points. He can pretty much coast through that first round. Is pretty much
first round, and he can drive the second round.
In the second round,
but he can drive the round of 12 pretty comfortably. But it doesn't. But that also, again, that may scare. It's like you look at the NFL; those first seeds, they come in, they take a week off of the playoffs, and then they come in week 2, and they absolutely suck because they didn't play for a week. So like, you don't want him to rest on his laurels. You don't want him you almost don't want him to coast. You want him to just ride this wave and ride the momentum all the way through race 36.
Yeah, because it's tough. You could have 2 bad races and you're done for, but you could have 10, 12 wins. Who knows? I saw that with Kevin Harvick in 2020. The guy had one of the best seasons ever, but wrecked at Texas because it started raining when he was in the lead. Couldn't get past Joey Logano at Kansas because of this horrible 550 horsepower package and just couldn't get around him. And then Martinsville, we get fucking wrecked by Matt Kenseth, who's just there.
Did you guys see on Twitter this week that people were nostalgic for 550 horsepower package?
I did.
They were like, look what they took from us, and I was like, what did they take? I was like, yeah, look what they took from us when they were running that race, and we didn't have good racing. What are you talking about? Look what they took from us.
That was the most frustrating race I think I've ever watched, was that Kansas race in 2020, because Kevin Harvick was just so much faster than Joey Logano, and if he was able to get around him, Kevin Harvick wins that race by 5 seconds, but he just could not get around him. It was so frustrating to watch that, and that's just a big what if. Harvick wins that race, he's going to the championship, and who knows what happens.
Yeah. The 550 horsepower package was god awful. The only thing that I can say about those Kentucky finishes, or the Kentucky races, was the finishes with 2019 and 2020. Yeah, those races were saved by overtime finishes, but that was
they were overtime. That's the only reason they were good, because it was overtime.
Yeah.
And the cars were so close together.
I don't remember a thing. Yeah. I don't remember a thing about
that 2-lap shootout is nothing.
I don't remember a thing about those Kentucky races up until the overtime, because that's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Exactly. But guys, that will about wrap it up for our show here. You guys got anything else to add?
Big success, I'd have to say, the last 2 weeks for NASCAR with Chicago, and then we get an exciting race here at Atlanta. Let's just keep plugging along to New Hampshire. This is a track that has put on some better racing here the past couple of years, so I'm excited. We got rain in the forecast again this weekend for New Hampshire, so who the hell knows what's going to happen.
Okay.
So,
hey, man, we got rain tires.
That worked well at Martinsville.
I think the drivers are there's a test.
There's a test in Texas. There's a test in Texas this week, and then Monday, Tuesday, they're testing a brand new short track package for New Hampshire. So a couple drivers are staying behind in New Hampshire, which I'm excited to hear about. But
we need all the help. We can
chat about that test next week too, once we know a little bit more about it.
Sounds good, boys. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning into the Stock Car Spectacle. If you haven't yet, make sure to like our video and subscribe to our channel. And you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram, and I guess now Threads, since that's the new social media. We're on there. So, yeah, check us out wherever. All right, everybody. For the Stock Car Spectacle, I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Nick Kinzel.
And I'm Tom Hobley.
We'll see you guys next time.